Hi, it's Melissa from polkadotchair.com, and today I'm so excited to kick off our Summer Sugar Quilt along. The Summer Sugar Quilt, if you haven't seen it yet, is a fun summer-inspired quilt made with my Summer Picnic fabric collection that features a variety of quilt blocks that I call picture quilt blocks. I don't know if that's what they're called, but you have cherry quilt blocks, apple quilt blocks, pineapples, bees, flowers, strawberries, and also some sawtooth star blocks. All in all, there are 7 blocks in the quilt, and I'll be sharing videos each week for the next six weeks for 6 of those blocks. There won't be a video for the sawtooth star block because it's pretty simple construction that I've covered in some other videos, but if you need help with that one, just leave it in the comments section and I will be sure to link up to some tutorials that will help you out with that. The quilt along starts on March 18th, which is today, if you're watching this the day it's released, and runs for 6 weeks. Each week we make a different block, and most of the blocks you make 3 of the same block for the quilt. If you don't want your quilt to be quite as large, then you can feel free to rearrange it as you want, leave blocks out. It's just set in a basic grid pattern, so there's a lot of flexibility as to how you want your finished quilt to look. So there's lots of room to customize it if you want to. You can also make a quilt that's all of the same block. So if you always wanted to make a quilt with just bee blocks or just cherry blocks, then you can do that too. You'll just need to repeat the same block instructions over and over again. This week we are starting with the apple quilt block. I picked the apple quilt block first because this block does have some smaller pieces in it that I know can sometimes be intimidating when you're quilting with small pieces. You can see my block is not perfect by any means, and the blocks in my finished quilt are not perfect either, but when you get them all kind of put together and sewn together, I don't think that you're going to notice if you have slight imperfections in your block. You might be a quilter that is able to piece things perfectly every time, and that my goal is to be like that someday. But for now, I am going to walk you through this block. Like I said, it has smaller pieces, and what happens sometimes when you quilt with smaller pieces is if your seam allowances aren't just exactly right, then it's easier for the blocks to become distorted. There's also a technique I use for these blocks called snowballing, at least that's what I call it, where you kind of clip the corner of a block of a piece of fabric with another piece of fabric. When you do that, you sew and cut it on a 45-degree angle, and since fabric stretches on the bias, a lot of times when you sew things or cut them on the bias, they can distort a little bit. So that's why sometimes it's a little trickier to quilt with smaller pieces, but this is by far nothing that's hard. I sat down this week and whipped up my block. It took me a little over an hour to do it, and that was with filming instructions for you guys in the process. So you can totally do this. If you're a brand new quilter, I definitely recommend making sure your seam allowance is a 1/4 inch and starching your fabric pieces and just going slow and just take it one step at a time. The background fabric that I am using for my quilt blocks is a little different than the example quilt. The example quilt, I have Blossom in bleached denim by Riley Blake Designs. I don't have any more of that fabric. So for my example blocks, I'm using bleached denim fabric in sparkler fabric, which is my new basics line with Riley Blake. You can use any light blue fabric that you like. You can also use bleached denim confetti cottons by Riley Blake. I don't know like color names of other fabric companies to give you, but I just thought I would point that out so that when you're sewing your blocks and you see the fabric I'm using, that's what I'm using. But use whatever it is that you're comfortable with. And I hope that you guys enjoy this process. Block videos will be posted on Fridays. If you signed up to get the free planner pages, then you should have received an email link with that. If you haven't done that yet and you want to get the planner pages, I will go ahead and link in the comments where to do that. All you need to do is give us your email on that form and we will send you a link to download them. Also on that, it has the schedule of all the blocks so that you can follow along. Hopefully the videos will be posted by Friday mornings most weeks. Can't guarantee that. Computers are very finicky, so you just never know what you're going to get. But I hope you have fun and enjoy making these blocks, and let's get started by making the apple block.